Tears streamed down Meghan Markle's face as whispers erupted. Has Prince Harry spiraled back into drug use? In a shocking turn of events, Meghan Markle was caught on camera breaking down during a public appearance, just as explosive new allegations surfaced claiming Prince Harry's drug use has worsened, possibly leading to a secret rehab stint and major fallout behind palace walls. The stakes? Their children, their fortune, and the future of their public legacy hang in the balance. What really pushed Meghan to the edge, and what terrifying truth is Harry hiding behind closed doors? Stay with us. What you're about to hear will change everything you thought you knew about the Sussexes. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. The air was thick with tension, though no one could say exactly why, at least not out loud. On what should have been a composed and carefully managed public appearance in California, all eyes were on Meghan Markle as she stood before a crowd gathered for what seemed to be another fundraising or advocacy event. But this time, the energy around her was different. Her smile, usually firm and camera-ready, was brittle. Her words faltered, and then, without warning, her composure cracked. Cameras captured the exact moment her voice trembled. She lowered her head. Her hand wiped away a tear. In that moment, Meghan Markle was no longer the poised Duchess of Sussex or the polished Hollywood influencer hybrid she's often portrayed as. She was a woman caught in the grip of something far larger than herself, something raw, painful, and perhaps deeply personal. Her team quickly stepped in, ending the appearance abruptly. But the moment had already gone viral. Within hours, news outlets had their headlines. Some called it a breakdown. Others speculated it was an emotional response to what many now suspect is a deepening crisis at home. And at the center of that crisis, Prince Harry. Allegations of worsening drug use. Talk of secret rehab stints. Whispers of palace distress. And looming in the background, a growing sense that things were unraveling far faster than anyone had previously understood. This video digs deep beneath the surface of that tearful moment, because it wasn't just about Meghan crying. It was about everything happening behind the curtain. Prince Harry, once dubbed the People's Prince, now finds himself engulfed in another storm of scandal, this time one that touches not just his public standing, but his mental health, his marriage, his family, and potentially even his immigration status in the United States. In the coming sections, we'll explore a timeline of the latest drug allegations and where they're believed to have originated. We'll examine Prince Harry's prior confessions, dive into expert opinions on addiction relapse, and uncover leaked hints that point to a covert rehabilitation effort. We'll also look at how Meghan's team may have scrambled to contain the fallout, how Buckingham Palace is reacting behind closed doors, and how the couple's multi-million-dollar deals could be in jeopardy. We'll ask some hard questions. Did Meghan know about Harry's worsening state long before it hit the press? Has the royal family's prior history of shielding scandal created a dangerous bubble around Harry? What are the implications for their two children, Archie and Lilibet? Could this public scandal trigger a private intervention or a devastating separation? And perhaps most importantly, is Meghan crying because she fears for Harry or because she's finally realizing how little control she has left over the narrative? These are the questions that swirl around this unfolding drama. And make no mistake, this isn't just another tabloid headline. This is a collision of royalty, addiction, public image, and private pain. But let's rewind a little. To fully understand the weight of this moment, the very moment Meghan lost control in front of the cameras, we must first understand the context behind it. Because this is not an isolated event. It's a culmination. Prince Harry's complicated relationship with drugs has been public for years. He's written about it himself, even joked about it in interviews. There were times in his youth when tabloids splashed headlines of cocaine and marijuana use, late-night parties, and security breaches. But after meeting Meghan and stepping into the next chapter of his life, Harry painted the picture of a man on a journey to healing. Therapy, wellness retreats, sobriety, purpose, a second chance. That image, however, may now be falling apart. According to anonymous insiders who claim to have worked in proximity to the Sussex household, there have been growing concerns over Harry's behavior in recent months. Friends say he's become withdrawn, moody, even erratic at times. Some claim he's canceled meetings last minute, skipped appearances, or stayed locked away for days. There are rumors of missed deadlines, heated arguments, and even a physical altercation with a close member of his team, all of which have yet to be publicly confirmed but are gaining traction in private circles. Add to this a resurgence of public scrutiny, Political figures demanding answers about Harry's U.S. visa, speculation about lies on his immigration paperwork, and pressure to release his application in full. With every new headline, the tension has only grown. And for Meghan, who has invested so heavily in building a brand of control and perfectionism, this chaos may have felt unbearable. One royal commentator, speaking off the record, said, "Meghan has always seen herself as the guardian of their image. She's curated it, protected it. But she cannot protect what she cannot control. And Harry right now, he's out of control. That may be the hardest truth of all. Because for years, Meghan and Harry have portrayed themselves as a united front against a hostile world. From their Oprah Winfrey interview to their Netflix series, they have crafted a story of defiance, survival, and reinvention. They were supposed to be the couple who broke free from royal constraints to live their truth. But what happens when that truth is darker than anyone wants to admit? The most haunting moment in the viral clip isn't just Meghan's tear, it's her silence. It's the long pause she takes before her handlers escort her off stage. It's the way she looks around, almost as if searching for something or someone. Some online theorists have suggested that Meghan's tears were strategically timed, a calculated move to garner sympathy. But others, including body language analysts, disagree. They point out the micro-expressions on her face, the stiffness in her shoulders, the sheer exhaustion in her eyes. This wasn't the breakdown of a woman pretending. This was the unraveling of a woman who knows something devastating is coming, and there's nothing she can do to stop it. Even as her team scrambled to regain control of the narrative, the damage was done. Hashtags began trending. Talk shows dissected her every movement. Royal watchers reignited debates over Harry's fitness to parent, his future in America, and whether Meghan would ultimately cut ties if the scandal grew worse. One talk show panelist put it bluntly, "We're witnessing the beginning of the end." But is it? Or is there still a chance for redemption? That's the mystery at the heart of this unfolding story. A single tear may seem small, but in the world of media optics and royal scandal, it can speak volumes. And Meghan's tear, captured, replayed, and analyzed in slow motion, could be the spark that sets off the biggest reckoning yet for the Sussex brand. In the next section, we'll break down the very latest drug allegations against Prince Harry, examining where they came from, why they've escalated now, and what makes them so dangerous, not just to his reputation, but potentially to his freedom, his family, and his place in two nations. Let's uncover what's really going on behind the palace walls, beyond the California mansion gates, and deep within the troubled heart of this royal drama. It began as a typical engagement. The lighting was soft, the floral arrangements delicate, and the venue styled for minimalism and elegance, just as Meghan Markle prefers it. The crowd consisted of advocates, philanthropists, influencers, and local media outlets. The event was advertised as a private initiative to promote mental wellness among young mothers, hosted by an organization closely linked to Meghan's post-royal charitable efforts. No one expected drama. No one expected the Duchess of Sussex, a woman trained to master public optics, to fall apart in front of dozens of cameras. But that is exactly what happened. Those in the audience reported that she appeared calm at first. Her speech began with the usual grace and poise. She spoke about community, the importance of resilience, and the challenges of balancing motherhood with modern demands. Her delivery, while polished, had an undercurrent of heaviness. And then, just as she began to reference her own experiences, just as she uttered the words, "Sometimes it feels like the pressure never ends," her voice cracked. What followed next was not part of any script. Her eyes welled up. Her jaw tightened. Her lips trembled. There was a pause, uncharacteristically long. Meghan looked off to the side as if searching for a familiar face in the crowd or some anchor to hold on to. Then came the first tear. It wasn't a dramatic sob or a collapse, but something far more human, a single tear sliding down her cheek, followed by her quickly raising her hand to wipe it away. The room went silent. One attendee later described the atmosphere as emotionally suspended. People didn't know whether to clap, console her, or simply look away. She tried to continue. She began another sentence but stopped halfway through. Her breathing became shallow. And finally, a member of her team stepped forward. The microphone was gently removed from her hand. She was escorted off the stage, head bowed, her expression unreadable. The entire incident lasted no more than 2 minutes, but by then, at least 4 separate phone cameras had already captured every second. Within hours, the video had made its way onto TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. One clip titled, Meghan Markle breaks down mid-speech, reached 1.4 million views in under 6 hours. Another, more cynical version of the same footage, captioned PR stunt or genuine emotion, triggered thousands of comments and debates. The mainstream media caught wind shortly after. British tabloids ran headlines like Meghan's public breakdown, trouble at home, while American outlets were slightly more sympathetic. An emotional Meghan Markle silences the crowd with tearful exit. What was once a quiet engagement had turned into a full-blown international headline, and the speculation began almost instantly. Why did she cry? What could possibly have driven Meghan, typically composed, camera-trained, and PR-savvy, to lose control on stage? Some speculated she was overwhelmed by emotion due to the subject matter of mental health and motherhood. Others thought perhaps something had happened in the minutes before the event began. A phone call or message that delivered devastating news. But the leading theory, by far, centered on one name, Prince Harry. That same morning, multiple media outlets reported that new allegations regarding Prince Harry's alleged substance abuse had been brought to light. The timing was more than coincidental. As the public devoured footage of Meghan's breakdown, news was spreading about Harry's supposed erratic behavior in recent weeks, including missed appointments, disappearing for days at a time, and an alleged confrontation with a business partner. These claims, while unverified at the time, added fire to the narrative. And then, another bombshell dropped. An anonymous source, claiming to be an aide to one of the couple's former advisors, told a gossip outlet that Harry had relapsed and was in a dark place. The source added that Meghan was exhausted, emotionally done, and reaching her breaking point. Whether true or not, this context reframed the entire video of Meghan crying. Suddenly, what seemed like an unexpected emotional moment became symbolic of a marriage under pressure, of a brand collapsing under its own weight, and of a woman publicly unraveling while trying to hold a family together. Social media exploded with interpretations. Some commenters wrote with empathy, "She's hurting. You can see it in her eyes." Others were cruel. "She's crying because her Hollywood fairy tale is over." Debates raged on between supporters and critics, each claiming to see the real Meghan in the footage. The conversation soon evolved into something deeper. Was this moment a call for help? Was it a carefully planned PR move to redirect media attention from Harry's scandal back to Meghan's image as a sympathetic figure? Or was it, as some suggested, the first visible crack in the Sussexes' carefully curated armor? Even behavioral experts weighed in. A licensed psychologist from Los Angeles analyzed the video frame by frame in a YouTube breakdown. He noted Meghan's micro-expressions, her darting eyes, her attempt to swallow emotion, and ultimately, her failure to regain control. "This isn't acting," he said. "This is someone dealing with layered emotional stress, and it all broke through in a moment she couldn't manage." That sentiment was echoed by a former royal staff member who had worked with Meghan during her early days in the UK. In an anonymous interview, the staffer said, "Meghan has always been polished, but never invincible. People forget she's been carrying a narrative, a brand, and a husband battling internal demons. Something had to give. And perhaps this public breakdown was exactly that, something giving way under pressure that had been mounting silently for months." Adding to the emotional weight of the moment was the reaction, or lack thereof, from Harry himself. He was noticeably absent from the event. This absence did not go unnoticed by commentators, who questioned why he wasn't by her side, especially during such a delicate appearance. Some speculated he had been advised to stay away due to his legal or public relations issues. Others whispered more ominously that he was unreachable, in a retreat, or simply unwilling to engage. Meghan's team refused to comment directly on the breakdown. An official spokesperson released only a generic statement thanking attendees and expressing appreciation for continued support during a personal moment. But the damage was already done, and the silence only fueled the fire. Behind closed doors, according to leaked reports, Meghan was furious that the moment had been captured and distributed so quickly. She reportedly blamed a member of her own media team for failing to monitor the crowd's recording devices. But what she may not have realized in that moment is that the world had already shifted. The emotional control that once made her appearances feel tightly managed had evaporated. What remained was vulnerability, real or staged, and the global gaze upon it. In the hours following the event, media organizations sent in requests for comment from Buckingham Palace, from Meghan's representatives, and from Harry's team. No one responded. The royal family remained silent, as they often do in moments of scandal. But silence is never neutral. It becomes a canvas for interpretation, and people began to draw their own conclusions. Some concluded that Meghan's tears were the direct result of the new wave of drug allegations against Harry. Others believed that the emotional outburst signaled a deeper fracture in their marriage, one that had been hinted at for months but never confirmed. A few even suggested that Meghan was preparing the public for a separation, that this tear was the first beat in a longer campaign to reclaim her individual identity. No matter the reason, the moment had done its damage, and perhaps had served its purpose. By the next day, clips of Meghan's tearful moment had made their way onto morning shows. News anchors asked guests to weigh in. "Is Meghan Markle okay?" became a trending Google search. Mental health experts were invited to panels. Royal biographers were asked to speculate. Everyone had a theory. Few had answers. And yet, amidst the noise, one thing remained clear: something serious is happening behind the scenes. Something Meghan, for all her media training and strategic planning, could not hide this time. As we dive into the next chapter of this unfolding crisis, we begin peeling back the layers behind the allegations against Prince Harry. Because while Meghan's breakdown might be the visible symptom, the root cause is far more disturbing. The rumors of addiction, secrecy, and emotional collapse are growing louder. And when we look closely, we'll see how far this crisis reaches. Into their home, their business dealings, their children's future, and potentially the end of a once-celebrated love story. Just hours before Meghan's emotional collapse on stage, a separate news story had begun to circulate online, one that, at first, was overshadowed by coverage of her teary-eyed appearance but soon gained a momentum of its own. It started with a vague headline in a British tabloid: "Worrying concerns raised over Prince's behavior." The article was light on specifics but heavy on innuendo, dropping cryptic hints about Prince Harry's recent absence from the public eye and citing anonymous sources who described him as withdrawn, erratic, and deeply troubled. Within minutes, the headline triggered a flurry of reactions across social media. Some dismissed it as tabloid gossip. Others, especially those familiar with Harry's public confessions about drug use in his memoir, began to wonder if something more serious was happening. And then the second story hit. This time, it was an American entertainment site, one known for breaking celebrity scandals, claiming that Harry's behavior in recent weeks had prompted serious concerns among friends and business partners, with unconfirmed suggestions that he might have relapsed into drug use. That story, paired with Meghan's visible distress, acted like gasoline to a small flame. Suddenly, what began as speculation transformed into a full-blown media storm. Questions multiplied. Was Harry using drugs again? Had he been admitted to a facility? What were the implications of this for his visa status? And was Meghan's breakdown linked directly to the unfolding crisis behind closed doors? To understand why these allegations cut so deeply, and why they felt so believable to so many, we have to go back in time. Prince Harry has never been shy about his troubled youth. In interviews, documentaries, and his memoir, Spare, he openly discussed his use of cannabis, cocaine, psychedelics, and alcohol as a means to cope with grief, isolation, and the suffocating expectations of royal life. He framed his drug use as part of a larger journey toward healing. Many applauded his honesty. Some criticized it. But few thought those days would resurface in such a dramatic fashion, years later, with even greater consequences at stake. In Spare, Harry described how he used substances to mask pain after the death of his mother, Princess Diana. He painted a picture of a boy adrift, emotionally repressed and psychologically wounded by the British royal machine. He confessed to doing cocaine in a friend's bathroom, smoking marijuana at Eton, and even trying psychedelics in a therapeutic setting as an adult. His frankness was seen by some as admirable, a necessary confession in a culture increasing. When you admit to drug use while holding a U.S. visa, even in a memoir, there's always the possibility that those words will be used against you, especially if new allegations surface. And that's exactly what was happening now. According to one unverified source close to a former security contractor who had worked for the Sussexes, Harry had been spiraling quietly for months. The source claimed that friends had grown worried after a series of canceled appearances and changes in mood. He went from calm and centered to paranoid and anxious, the source said. He stopped returning calls. He stopped showing up. Then came the supposed confrontation. A leaked audio clip, not confirmed but widely circulated online, allegedly captured a heated argument between Harry and a former project advisor. In the clip, a man's voice, believed to be Harry's, can be heard shouting expletives and slurring his words slightly. While the authenticity of the clip has been questioned, its existence only fueled rumors of relapse. Another anonymous insider, this time from a philanthropic organization tied to Meghan and Harry's Archewell Foundation, claimed that Harry had recently backed out of a major event at the last minute. It wasn't like him, they said. He seemed out of it on a video call a few days prior. Meghan tried to smooth it over, but you could tell something was off. Still, without concrete proof, many were hesitant to make definitive claims. That didn't stop speculation, though, especially not online, where theories spread faster than facts. Some pointed to Harry's increasingly reclusive behavior. Over the past 6 months, he had made fewer public appearances than usual. When he did show up, at conferences, charity events, or interviews, he often appeared distracted, subdued, or uncharacteristically silent. Photos of Harry looking disheveled or distant only added to the narrative. In several instances, he was photographed leaving private events early or skipping scheduled panels entirely. Supporters of Harry pushed back. They argued that the prince had been unfairly scrutinized for years and that his occasional absence from the spotlight could be attributed to burnout, fatherhood, or strategic PR decisions. They noted that speculation about drug use without proof was dangerous, potentially defamatory, and deeply unfair. But others weren't convinced. One political commentator, speaking on a podcast that often focuses on royal matters, said, "Let's not forget that Harry himself gave us this narrative. He's the one who opened the door to the discussion about drugs. He made it part of his brand, part of his healing journey. So when things start to unravel, it's not surprising that people look there first." There were other signs, too subtler, but no less alarming. Sources claimed that Harry had distanced himself from several close friends, including some from his days in the military and Invictus Games. At least 2 canceled trips were reportedly blamed on health reasons, and more than one royal insider hinted that the palace had been deeply disturbed by what they were hearing. What exactly were they hearing? According to one former royal aide, rumors had reached London that Harry had entered some form of recovery program, though it was unclear whether this meant inpatient rehab, outpatient therapy, or simply a private wellness retreat. The palace, ever silent on such matters, offered no confirmation. But insiders noted the absence of any scheduled appearances by Harry on royal calendars. It was as if he had quietly stepped back from the world. And that's where Meghan's role comes into sharper focus. As Harry's partner, she has often been painted as his protector, publicist, and confidant. She has stood by him through scandal, family drama, and exile. But insiders say this particular crisis may be beyond her ability to manage. One report claimed Meghan had begged Harry to get help after a particularly volatile evening at their Montecito home. Another suggested she had threatened to take the children to stay with her mother Doria if he didn't. In both cases, the narrative is the same. Meghan is exhausted, desperate, and no longer certain she can control what happens next. And then came the immigration angle, a legal twist that could escalate things even further. As news of Harry's alleged relapse spread, attention turned to his immigration status. Did he declare drug use on his visa application? If not, and if the allegations proved credible, could he be in violation of U.S. immigration law? These questions, once limited to fringe speculation, were now being raised in mainstream legal circles. A prominent immigration attorney commented in a televised interview, "If someone admits to drug use in their memoir and then is accused of relapse, it creates a very dangerous legal situation. If the government determines the initial visa application was not truthful, they can take action. That includes revocation or even removal proceedings." Suddenly, this wasn't just about a prince's personal struggles. It was about legality, accountability, and consequences. By the end of that day, the same day Meghan cried on camera, the internet was ablaze with one unrelenting question. Is Prince Harry facing a secret personal crisis that could end his American dream? The mounting weight of evidence, speculation, and emotional fallout has created a storm that feels impossible to control. Meghan's tearful appearance, far from distracting from the scandal, has only amplified it. And Harry's silence, his refusal to deny or explain, has made things worse. But what no one can say for sure is this. Is this a momentary crisis? Or the beginning of something much more permanent? Has Prince Harry reached a point of no return? Behind every public figure is a world the cameras never see. A world of whispered conversations, sleepless nights, and quiet moments of collapse that never make headlines. For Meghan Markle, Those private struggles are now spilling into the public domain. The images of her wiping away tears during a speaking engagement were more than just a singular emotional outburst. They were a small window into months, if not years, of growing tension and inner turmoil. As Prince Harry faces mounting scrutiny over alleged drug use, Meghan is reportedly fighting a war behind closed doors, against fear, against loss of control, and perhaps even against the man she once risked everything to marry. According to insiders close to the Sussex's Montecito circle, Meghan has been bearing the brunt of Harry's alleged downward spiral, the once carefully curated calm of their California lifestyle. Complete with yoga mornings, avocado breakfasts, and quiet walks with their children, has reportedly been fractured by unpredictability, mood swings, and emotional exhaustion. Multiple sources, including former staff members who spoke under anonymity, describe Meghan as mentally drained and at the end of her rope. One such source painted a picture of a household on edge. Meghan's always been in control. She likes to plan every detail, from their public statements to what the kids wear to a school picnic. But lately, Harry's behavior has thrown everything into chaos. He disappears into his home office for hours. He ignores calls. And when she tries to talk to him, he shuts down or snaps. These personal accounts are more than mere gossip. They are reflections of a relationship buckling under pressure. And while Meghan has long been known to present a composed and resilient front in public, it's clear that whatever is happening behind the scenes is pushing her to a breaking point. One particularly troubling report claimed that Meghan had reached out to a close friend in Los Angeles in tears, confessing she felt completely alone and afraid of what might come next. The friend, a former colleague from her Suits days, reportedly urged her to take a break from public life, but Meghan refused. She feels responsible, the source claimed, not just for Harry, but for the image they've built, for their children, for the empire they've tried to create post-royalty. That sense of responsibility appears to be weighing heavily on her. Another report suggested that Meghan had been quietly managing Harry's professional commitments, personally corresponding with producers, agents, and brand representatives to cover for his absences. A Netflix executive, speaking on background, said Meghan had personally called to cancel a scheduled Zoom meeting between Harry and producers for an upcoming documentary. She sounded calm, but you could tell she was tired. Really tired, the executive said. These details are painting an increasingly clear picture. Meghan is not only managing her own public image, but also trying to hold together the personal and professional foundation she and Harry built in the years following their royal departure. And it's not easy. Sources also say Meghan has taken additional steps to shield their children, Archie and Lilibet, from the growing turmoil. Reportedly, she's limited Harry's interaction with the children on days when he appears disconnected or irritable. In one account, a nanny was asked to keep the children away from their father for an entire weekend. Whether this was to protect them or give Harry space is unclear, but the emotional toll is unmistakable. It's also been reported that Meghan has considered moving in temporarily with her mother, Doria Ragland, to create some emotional distance while continuing to protect the children's well-being. While this is yet to be confirmed, the very fact that such a move is being discussed underscores how serious the situation may be. Perhaps most telling of Meghan's struggle is how isolated she has become in recent months. Publicly, she has scaled back her appearances. Privately, she is said to have reduced contact with several friends and former colleagues. One insider claimed that she rarely replies to texts unless they're related to business. She's retreating, the source said. She's not the same vibrant person she was just 2 years ago. One of the few people she still speaks to regularly, reportedly, is Oprah Winfrey. Their friendship, cemented during the infamous tell-all interview, has reportedly become a lifeline. According to sources, Oprah has advised Meghan to prioritize her mental health, even suggesting professional counseling. Whether Meghan has accepted the advice is unclear, but those close to her say the idea is being seriously considered. Even Meghan's relationship with her professional PR team is reportedly under strain. Insiders say she has clashed with advisors about how to handle the growing drug use allegations around Harry. Some wanted to issue a soft statement expressing concern and support, while others suggested staying silent to avoid fueling the story. Meghan, caught between loyalty and strategy, reportedly became frustrated and indecisive. She's used to being in charge, a PR consultant noted. But this is different. This is personal. And it's spiraling fast. Another element adding pressure to Meghan's already fragile emotional state is the resurgence of tabloid speculation around her marriage. In recent weeks, UK tabloids have published unconfirmed stories suggesting a trial separation, secret arguments, and even early talks with divorce lawyers. While no credible evidence has emerged to support these claims, the rumors alone are enough to ignite a storm of media coverage and add fuel to Meghan's mounting stress. What's more, the British public and press, who have long maintained a love-hate relationship with Meghan, have latched onto the latest developments as vindication. Commentators who once criticized her for manipulating Harry now frame her as a victim of his supposed decline. Meanwhile, American outlets, once protective of the couple, are beginning to shift in tone, portraying Meghan as increasingly desperate and reactive rather than composed and forward-thinking. One particularly brutal op-ed suggested that Meghan's breakdown was the result of building a house of cards on a foundation of trauma, media games, and unsustainable branding. Whether one agrees with that sentiment or not, the opinion reflects a growing narrative that Meghan's struggles are not just emotional, but symbolic of a larger collapse. Still, not everyone sees this as a purely negative arc. Some believe this could be a turning point, a moment of reckoning that forces the couple to step back from the spotlight and confront the issues threatening to destroy what they've built. A family therapist interviewed on a popular U.S. podcast suggested Meghan is showing signs of emotional exhaustion, which is a normal human response to a partner's relapse. If Harry truly is struggling with substance use, this could be their rock bottom as a couple, but also the beginning of recovery. Recovery, however, requires honesty, humility, and time, three things the Sussexes may find hard to access in a world where every move is scrutinized and monetized. For Meghan, the options are limited. Continue shielding Harry while risking her own breakdown? Step back from public life and risk losing the media influence that defines their brand? Or confront the reality head-on, risking public backlash but potentially reclaiming control over the narrative? Whatever she chooses, one thing is clear. Meghan Markle is not just dealing with public opinion. She's dealing with heartbreak, uncertainty, and the slow disintegration of the image she has worked so hard to build. In the world of high-profile public figures, every movement, or lack thereof, becomes fuel for speculation. And when it comes to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, the absence of Prince Harry from the spotlight has grown more noticeable with each passing week. For a man who, alongside his wife, has spent the last few years building a media presence, brand partnerships, and public advocacy campaigns, suddenly disappearing from the public eye without explanation is not just suspicious, it's telling. In mid-April of this year, Prince Harry was scheduled to appear at a major tech conference in San Francisco. He was meant to participate in a panel discussing the intersection of mental health and digital innovation, a cause he's been visibly passionate about. His face was on the promotional material. The Archwell Foundation was listed as a key partner. Organizers had announced his appearance weeks in advance, and ticket sales had surged based on the expectation that he would headline the event. But just 2 days before the conference, a statement was quietly released. Due to unforeseen personal obligations, Prince Harry will no longer be attending the event. No further explanation was provided. No substitute speaker was offered in his place. And no follow-up statements were made. That same week, Prince Harry missed 2 additional appearances, one for a veterans' mental health roundtable and another virtual talk that had been pre-scheduled with a UK-based nonprofit. Meghan Markle attended a smaller event on her own, where she was reportedly distant and serious, avoiding media questions and exiting immediately after her remarks. This pattern, Harry's vanishing from public events and Meghan's increasing emotional burden, led some royal watchers and media insiders to ask a simple question. Had Harry entered rehab? The idea began to circulate on social media first. A Reddit post titled, "Harry is in rehab and Meghan is cracking under the pressure," gained traction, with commenters speculating based on time gaps in Harry's visibility. A few days later, a blind item on a celebrity gossip site hinted that a former royal with past drug use confessions has recently checked into a discreet California wellness facility to address renewed personal challenges. From there, the theory snowballed. Several tabloid outlets began referencing an unnamed Pacific Coast treatment center that catered to celebrities and high-profile executives. Though no publication named Harry directly, the implication was unmistakable. Then came an unverified but viral photo. A grainy, long-distance image surfaced online showing a man with red hair entering what appeared to be a private, luxury rehabilitation facility nestled in the California hills. The man wore a baseball cap and hoodie, and though his face was obscured, online sleuths quickly jumped to conclusions. Side-by-side comparisons to Harry's build and posture fueled the fire. "That's him," one commenter wrote. "It's 100% Harry. He's hiding out." More intriguing was the timing. The photo was allegedly taken just days after Harry missed the tech conference. The facility in question was known for treating celebrities discreetly. Patients reportedly checked in under pseudonyms, and the property was surrounded by thick foliage and private security. At this point, neither Meghan nor Harry's representatives had issued a statement to confirm or deny the rumors. The silence was deafening. The longer they avoided comment, the more intense the speculation became. Adding even more heat to the rumors was the testimony of a former employee at the facility in question. Speaking anonymously to a foreign tabloid, the individual claimed to have seen a red-haired man matching Harry's description enter the grounds with a security escort. "We were told to clear the East Wing for a special guest," the employee said. No names were used, but the staff started whispering immediately. It was someone important, someone British. While this alone doesn't prove anything, it added fuel to an already roaring fire. Other reports claimed Meghan had temporarily moved out of their Montecito estate during the same period, allegedly staying at her mother's home with the children. If true, it would suggest that Meghan was giving Harry space to recover or separating herself from the potential fallout. Royal commentators were quick to weigh in. One royal biographer speculated on air, "It wouldn't be surprising at all. Harry has a documented history of drug use. He has admitted to self-medicating with cannabis and other substances in the past. Combine that with the stress of public life, fatherhood, and this perpetual war with the press, and it's a recipe for relapse. If he has gone into treatment, it may be the most responsible thing he's done in a long time." Others were more critical. A vocal British commentator, known for his anti-Sussex views, suggested the rehab narrative was a PR maneuver to distract from a possible scandal. They've been caught off guard. The tears, the absence, it's all leading up to a reveal. If they announce rehab, it will be to get ahead of a worse story. That's how this game works. Still, others saw the possibility of a rehab visit in a more compassionate light. Addiction and relapse, after all, are deeply human struggles that affect people across all walks of life. And for someone like Prince Harry, who grew up with enormous trauma, public pressure, and limited outlets for emotional release, relapse isn't just possible, it's plausible. According to one mental health professional who has worked with high-profile clients, the lifestyle that Harry now lives could actually contribute to emotional instability. Isolation is common among former celebrities or royals who step away from structured institutions, the doctor explained. They go from having a tightly managed schedule to having almost too much freedom. That, combined with unresolved trauma, can lead to emotional disarray. Sometimes it manifests as anxiety or depression. Other times, as substance abuse. The therapist added that if Harry is indeed in rehab, it could mark a turning point, not just in his personal life, but in the narrative he and Meghan have carefully constructed over the past several years. This could actually humanize him, she said. But only if he's honest about it. People will forgive almost anything, but they won't tolerate lies. That's where the Sussexes now find themselves, trapped between secrecy and transparency, privacy and public duty. Should Harry be in rehab and they choose to conceal it entirely, it may further erode public trust. But if they admit it, they risk a media frenzy, new criticism, and potential legal scrutiny, especially in light of Harry's ongoing visa controversy in the United States. Confessing to recent drug use, either directly or through a rehab announcement, could have legal consequences, including threats to his immigration status. That's a high-stakes gamble. To complicate matters even further, there are whispers that the royal family in London is already aware of the situation. Multiple sources suggest that King Charles and Prince William have been briefed about Harry's condition through back channels. One royal insider described the mood at the palace as deeply concerned but restrained, adding, "They feel they've done all they can. This is now a mess of Harry's making." Another source went further, claiming that the family has drafted a contingency communication plan in case Harry's condition becomes public knowledge. They're bracing for fallout, the insider said. There's no interest in pulling him back into the fold, but they're monitoring the damage to the institution. Which brings us back to the central figure in all of this, Meghan Markle. If Harry is indeed in rehab, Meghan's tearful public moment takes on a new layer of meaning. Not simply as a reaction to rumors or stress, but as a response to living with the weight of it all. As the caretaker, the partner, the parent, and the brand ambassador for a global enterprise that rests on the stability of their personal lives, Meghan is undoubtedly in a pressure cooker. Her absence from recent high-profile events, coupled with her solo appearances and carefully curated statements, suggests a woman attempting to keep everything afloat while the foundation cracks beneath her. Meanwhile, Harry's silence continues. No public appearances. No statements. No photographs that aren't years old or stock footage. For a couple known for their media visibility, their lack of presence is itself a statement. If the rumors are true, and Prince Harry has entered a treatment facility for substance-related issues, the months ahead will be critical. Publicly, they will face scrutiny, skepticism, and likely ridicule from their harshest critics. Privately, they will face the much harder task of healing, rebuilding, and reimagining their life as something stronger than a brand. Because this isn't just about a prince in rehab. It's about what happens when two people who once ran from the royal system find themselves ensnared in something just as consuming, their own narrative. Inside the walls of Buckingham Palace, where tradition is law and discretion is sacred, few subjects stir deeper unease than scandal involving one of their own. Yet over the past several weeks, as Prince Harry's alleged drug use once again headlines tabloids and social media feeds worldwide, palace corridors have reportedly grown tense with concern, strategy meetings, and hurried whispers. The institution that once took great pains to shield Harry from youthful mistakes now finds itself facing a dilemma it can no longer control, because this time, the prince in question isn't just a wayward royal teenager. He is a man in exile, a husband, a father, and a global figure whose collapse threatens the image of the entire monarchy. Insiders familiar with the palace's internal operations say the response to the crisis has been swift, but behind locked doors. There has been no official statement, no direct rebuttal, no public show of concern. Instead, the monarchy has returned to one of its oldest strategies in the face of scandal, controlled silence. But silence does not mean inaction. And according to multiple well-placed sources, senior royal aides, including those serving King Charles and Prince William, have been working overtime to draft contingency plans and monitor media developments as the Sussex crisis continues to evolve. According to a source from within the palace's media team, a specialized communications unit was convened the day after Meghan Markle's emotional breakdown was broadcast around the world. The emergency meeting reportedly included several high-level figures, among them representatives from the King's press secretary, private advisors to William, and external PR consultants. The purpose: assess the damage, predict escalation, and design possible responses that maintain the monarchy's distance while reinforcing its values. They're very aware of the optics, the source said. This isn't just about Harry anymore. It's about whether his actions and instability could come to symbolize something more dangerous: dysfunction within the royal bloodline. That fear is not unfounded. Despite Harry and Meghan's official departure from royal duties in 2020, their titles remain. Their blood ties remain. And most crucially, public perception often continues to conflate their actions with the institution from which they emerged. For the monarchy, whose global standing is deeply rooted in image, consistency, and moral authority, Harry's alleged downward spiral represents a reputational risk that must be carefully contained. Particularly concerning, according to insiders, is the impact on the king's reign. King Charles III is in the early stages of establishing himself as a modern but steady monarch, one focused on environmental stewardship, constitutional continuity, and repairing Commonwealth ties. Any reminder of familial dysfunction threatens to overshadow these goals. In private, aides are said to be exploring ways to reinforce the narrative of the working royals, the reliable core members of the family including Charles, Camilla, William, Kate, and Edward, while subtly distancing the monarchy from the drama unfolding in California. One royal commentator explained, the palace's approach is not to directly comment on scandal, but to drown it out. They promote engagements, launch charity initiatives, and flood the media with images of stability and duty. It's a strategy of contrast. The more chaotic Harry looks, the more dignified William appears by comparison. Indeed, just days after Harry missed a string of appearances, Prince William was photographed visiting a children's hospital and hosting a diplomatic reception. Queen Camilla appeared at a literary festival. Princess, and ever the workhorse of the family, clocked in several public duties back-to-back. These appearances were not coincidences, they were carefully planned counters to the media noise coming from across the Atlantic. However, behind closed doors, the tone is far less composed. According to palace insiders, King Charles has been particularly pained by the current situation. While the king has always had a complicated relationship with his youngest son, those close to him say he still harbors hope that Harry can find stability, if not reconciliation. His Majesty isn't just a monarch, one aide noted. He's a father. And despite everything, the interviews, the books, the allegations, he still wants his son to be okay. But he also understands that there's only so much he can do from a distance. One especially revealing detail emerged from a private conversation allegedly overheard during a palace lunch. Charles, referring to Harry's rumored rehab stint, reportedly said, "I hope he finds peace. But he's chosen a path that keeps him far from it." Whether true or not, the statement has been circulated among royal staffers as indicative of the king's internal conflict, caught between love for his son and duty to the crown. Prince William, on the other hand, is reportedly far less forgiving. The relationship between the two brothers, once a symbol of unity after the death of Princess Diana, has reportedly deteriorated beyond repair. According to a royal source close to Kensington Palace, William sees Harry's alleged relapse and ongoing instability as dangerous, particularly for the future of the institution. William is laser-focused on protecting the monarchy for his children, the source said. He sees Harry's behavior as reckless and damaging, not just personally, but symbolically. It's said that William has instructed his team to cut all back-channel communication with the Sussex camp. There are even rumors of internal memos warning staff not to engage or comment on the California crisis under any circumstances. While these claims remain unconfirmed, they align with the broader strategy of strategic distance, a royal version of damage limitation. Still, distancing is easier said than done. In recent weeks, more than a dozen media outlets have speculated about whether Harry's children, Archie and Lilibet, might be stripped of their royal titles in light of the growing scandal. Although the children were granted prince and princess designations following Charles's ascension, those titles are symbolic rather than legal and entirely at the discretion of the sovereign. Some within the palace believe that formally removing those titles could serve as a public signal that the monarchy is severing its ties to Harry's personal decisions. Others worry such a move would trigger global backlash and portray the monarchy as heartless, especially in light of Harry's alleged health struggles. As one advisor put it, there's a difference between protecting the crown and appearing cruel to a struggling family member. It's a precarious balance, and the palace knows it. One particularly complex aspect of the current crisis is how it relates to the monarchy's new global strategy. King Charles has made it clear that the royal family must modernize and slim down, focusing on key territories and reducing its reliance on scandal-prone extended members. But even as they narrow the circle, the Sussexes continue to command media attention, pulling the spotlight away from core royals. And herein lies the paradox. Harry and Meghan are no longer working royals, yet their every move generates global headlines. The monarchy has no control over them, yet is constantly forced to respond, often in the form of calculated silence. The palace cannot ignore them, yet cannot fully acknowledge them either. It is a constitutional limbo made worse by scandal. In response, palace staff are reportedly compiling a detailed dossier of timelines, media mentions, and potential legal vulnerabilities surrounding the Sussexes. The goal, to be prepared for every scenario, from public confession to legal fallout. This includes monitoring developments in Harry's U.S. immigration status, as any official move by U.S. authorities would demand a carefully worded response from Buckingham Palace, lest it appear uninformed or indifferent. Another source confirmed that palace officials have held at least one closed-door strategy session with legal advisors, examining the implications of Harry's past admissions of drug use and how future revelations might impact the royal family's global image. They're looking at worst-case scenarios, the source said. Not because they want to punish Harry, but because they have to protect the institution. Meanwhile, staff at Clarence House, the former residence of King Charles, are said to be revisiting the idea of issuing a generic statement addressing the importance of mental health and substance recovery, without naming names. While no official decision has been made, the very fact that such an option is on the table shows how seriously the situation is being taken behind palace gates. And then there's the matter of timing. With key royal events approaching, state visits, charitable galas, and the next Trooping the Color, the monarchy cannot afford to be overshadowed. A PR disaster involving Harry could derail months of planning. It could shift global coverage from regal diplomacy to personal dysfunction. The monarchy must tread carefully. At the heart of this is a profound emotional truth. Harry is still Charles's son. He is still Diana's child. And for all the strategy, all the image control, there is grief behind the scenes, a recognition that a once-beloved family member is seemingly lost in a spiral that few can interrupt. The palace's strategy, then, is not simply cold calculation. It is a mixture of institutional protection, private concern, and the quiet acknowledgement that the royal family, for all its power and pomp, is still at the mercy of human behavior. And that behavior, when messy and public, leaves no easy answers. When Meghan Markle entered Prince Harry's world, she was seen by many as a breath of fresh air. A confident, articulate, and ambitious woman who brought a modern sensibility to the age-old institution of the British monarchy. To Harry, she was more than a partner, she was a liberator. The woman who pulled him from the shadows of royal formality into a world of purpose, authenticity, and supposedly emotional freedom. Their relationship was heralded as a love story that would modernize the monarchy. But now, amid the spiraling crisis surrounding Harry's alleged relapse into drug use and the emotional unraveling that followed, the public has begun asking a harder question. Is Meghan Markle helping Prince Harry through his darkest hour, or is she, inadvertently or not, dragging him deeper into the storm? To answer this, one must look closely, not just at what's being said, but what's being left unsaid. Over the past several weeks, Meghan's actions have come under intense scrutiny. From her tearful breakdown at a public event to her abrupt withdrawal from certain appearances and her perceived efforts to manage Harry's commitments behind the scenes, the Duchess of Sussex is clearly navigating emotional and reputational landmines. But the question remains, are her efforts effective, or are they making things worse? According to one former staffer of the Archewell Foundation, Meghan has taken complete control of all scheduling, communications, and crisis messaging. The source, speaking on condition of anonymity, said Meghan has essentially become the central command of the Sussex operation. Harry hasn't been in a position to lead for some time, the source revealed. Meghan is the one who decides which calls get returned, which events are attended, and how their narrative is shaped. That level of control may suggest strength, but it also raises questions about stability. Another source close to the couple described Meghan as on edge, frequently re-editing public statements and clashing with PR advisors over how much to reveal about Harry's condition. She wants to protect him, but also protect the brand. It's a hard balance, and she's struggling to find it, the source said. This internal struggle has been visible in her public behavior. While Meghan continues to appear at selective public functions, her energy has shifted. Observers note that her speeches, once confident and assertive, now seem rehearsed, even mechanical. Her eyes, once engaging, often avoid direct contact with cameras. She smiles, but it doesn't reach her expression. The facade is cracking. And then there's the issue of tone. Meghan's carefully curated image has always centered on control, of narrative, of space, of perception. But control in a crisis becomes its own kind of performance. Critics argue that Meghan's instinct to stage manage everything has backfired. She's trying to choreograph chaos, one commentator said on a live panel. And in doing so, she's coming off as disingenuous, even when she may be genuinely suffering. Supporters, on the other hand, view her actions in a more sympathetic light. They argue that Meghan is doing what any partner would do, trying to hold everything together while her family teeters on the edge. She's a wife and a mother. A celebrity friend was quoted as saying, "She didn't sign up for this level of emotional pressure, but she's doing her best." Indeed, from a psychological standpoint, Meghan's current behavior mirrors that of someone engaged in what therapists call protective overfunctioning. In relationships where one partner struggles with addiction or emotional instability, the other often compensates by trying to overcontrol the situation, taking on responsibilities, managing the external world, and attempting to fix things through sheer willpower. But this dynamic can be unsustainable. It leads to emotional burnout, resentment, and an imbalance that ultimately harms both individuals. Experts suggest that unless Harry actively engages in his own recovery, if there is one happening, Meghan's attempts to shield, guide, or control him may only prolong the problem. What complicates this further is Meghan's own public history with control and image-making. From the couple's bombshell Oprah interview to their Netflix docuseries, Meghan has positioned herself as a truth-teller, a woman wronged by the establishment, determined to reclaim her story. But now, that narrative is under siege. With Harry's alleged issues taking center stage, Meghan is no longer the architect of the story. she is part of the crisis. And this change in perception has consequences. Public opinion, once heavily in Meghan's favor, has begun to shift. On social media, even longtime supporters have voiced concern over the couple's transparency or lack thereof. Some question whether Meghan is more focused on salvaging their brand than addressing the root of the problem. Others wonder whether her silence about Harry's condition is an act of loyalty or an effort to protect herself from potential legal and reputational fallout. Meanwhile, critics have become increasingly vocal. Some argue that Meghan's presence in Harry's life, while initially helpful, has now become destabilizing. She pulled him out of the royal structure, one royal historian said. But did she replace that structure with something strong enough to sustain him? Or is Harry now more isolated than ever, cut off from his family, from tradition, and perhaps even from reality? There are also concerns about the role of media in this dynamic. Meghan and Harry have long maintained a complicated relationship with the press, seeking privacy while simultaneously engaging in high-profile interviews, documentaries, and books. This paradox, wanting silence but commanding the spotlight, has created a feedback loop that some experts believe is contributing to their current crisis. One media analyst described it as narrative inflation. Every story, every appearance, every breakdown becomes magnified, the analyst said. Meghan may be trying to control the narrative, but she's also feeding it. That's the trap of modern fame, especially when your personal struggles are part of the brand. There's also the question of loyalty. Insiders suggest Meghan has begun to question whom she can trust, even within her inner circle. With rumors of leaks, betrayals, and shifting alliances, the Sussex household is reportedly tense and guarded. It's Meghan and Harry against the world, one associate said. But even that partnership is under pressure now. In response to this pressure, Meghan has reportedly turned to a select few for counsel. Oprah Winfrey, as mentioned before, remains a trusted advisor. Other confidants include a pair of legal consultants and one Hollywood-based branding expert. Together, they are said to be helping Meghan draft contingency plans in case Harry's situation worsens or more damaging information emerges publicly. What do these plans include? While unconfirmed, reports suggest Meghan may be exploring temporary separation as a strategy, not necessarily as a marital rupture, but as a PR safeguard. Such a move could provide her with a way to protect her children, distance herself from legal vulnerabilities, and prepare for possible fallout. If true, it would mark a significant turning point. For a couple who have insisted on their unity against the world, even the suggestion of separation is explosive. And yet, it reflects the gravity of the situation. Meghan may be strong. She may be strategic. But she is also human. And even the strongest people have limits. Perhaps the most poignant image that captures the current state of affairs is not Meghan on stage crying, but Meghan behind the scenes, surrounded by advisors, late at night, trying to make sense of a future she can no longer script. A woman once praised for her ability to write her own story, now caught in a narrative unraveling faster than she can type. Supporters will say she's a wife doing her best. Critics will say she's clinging to control. But the truth likely lies somewhere in between. Because at its core, this is not just a story of royalty or celebrity. It is the story of two people, flawed, famous, and deeply entangled, trying to survive a moment neither could have predicted. As Meghan faces scrutiny over her role in Harry's downward spiral, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. Whether she saves him or not, she is no longer standing on the sidelines. She is in the fire with him. Burning, bending, and perhaps beginning to break. When Meghan Markle and Prince Harry stepped away from royal duties in 2020, they did so under the banner of financial independence and creative freedom. In the months that followed their relocation to California, the couple signed multi-million-dollar deals with media giants such as Netflix and Spotify, agreements that were heralded at the time as the beginning of a new era for the Sussexes. They would tell their stories, launch documentaries, produce podcasts, and build a media empire fueled by their celebrity, causes, and curated authenticity. But now, with Prince Harry allegedly caught in the midst of a personal spiral and Meghan struggling to manage the public fallout, those once shining partnerships are beginning to flicker, and, according to insiders, some may be on the verge of collapse. The most high-profile of their deals remains the Netflix agreement. Signed in 2020, the deal was reportedly worth over $100 million and involved the couple producing a variety of content, including documentaries, scripted series, and feature films. Their first major project, the docuseries Harry and Meghan, was released in December 2022 and drew significant attention, both for its raw revelations and its clear attempt to reframe their narrative. While it was initially successful in viewership, reviews were mixed, and its long-term impact